Thanks for watching another episode of The Catholic View for Women. I'm Teresa Tomeo, along with my host, Astrid Bennett Gutierrez from the Vida Initiative, and of course, Janet Morana from Priester Life, Silent No More, and Defending Life here on EWTN. This is part 2 of Feed My Sheep, and we're also going to continue in this part with our good friend, Father John Ricardo from the Archdiocese of Detroit. Many of you also know him from EWTN Catholic Radio. He's also a very popular radio host. And we sat down at a conference in the Archdiocese of Detroit, Janet and I, last year with Father, and asked him a lot of questions. It was a very candid interview, and it was a really great time for us just to chat with him about a lot of concerns that people are expressing about the state of the church right now, the state of the world, and what we need to do as Catholics to support our priests and help each other feed the sheep. Let's take a listen to what Father John has to say about the current crisis in our world and what it's going to mean for the church and what we can do about it.
These are really challenging times. I think the church is headed for some really painful years. I think the opposition against the church is going to get really strong. It could get ugly. That's not real thrilling to me, quite frankly. I used to give tours to St. Peter's grave when I lived in Rome, and so this is back in 1992, and I would always start by reminding people, because you're standing outside, as you know well, the area where Peter was crucified and what was the circus upon which St. Peter's was built. And so the charge against the Christians, the unofficial charge, was they were enemies of the human race. And as far back as 1992, I can remember saying to people, you know, that's what they're going to say about us, and it's going to be over this topic. Because abortion's an easy thing. There's a lot of passion and venom out there in the pro-life and pro-abortion movement, but it really is a soundbite. This is not. This is hard, because it sounds like, if you don't know what you're talking about, you sound like a bigot. You sound like you're just contrary to love. You just hate people. Here's somebody who's found somebody else and you hate them. It's like, no, I don't hate anybody. But you need to be able to talk about what the church teaches and why she teaches what she teaches. And unfortunately, most Catholics can't do that, which then just reinforces the impression that so many people have that we are bigots. That's happening, I think. And so since we look bigoted, people are going to have the response to bigots that they have, and they're going to try to silence us. But we're not bigots. We actually have something to say in a way that's very loving and very helpful for people. That's the dark side. I don't want to speculate as to how dark that could get. Could get really dark. Positive side is people have never really heard the gospel today. So countless people have never really heard the gospel. And so we're just going back to basics. So, you know, this issue, I use the image oftentimes of, especially with kids, you know, they always want to know, like, why does the church teach what she teaches about homosexuality or contraception or whatever? And you go, that's a great question. That's chapter 96. Do you know the cover of the book? Do you know the title of the book? Because until you know the title of the book that you're reading, you're not going to be able to make sense out of that chapter. And the title of the book is, God is passionately in love with you. So much so that he not only made you, he became flesh. He went to the cross. He rose from the dead. And he's offering people like you and me, who in the grand scheme of things really don't have a whole lot to offer the eternal God, friendship. When you understand the title, then these chapters, they're going to make more sense. And I think because we are where we are right now, not only because we did a lousy job of catechizing, but we did an even worse job of evangelizing, we're just going back to the title. And we're just trying to facilitate encounters with people. And when I've had the encounter, it's not to say that you can't teach people until they've had that, but it's going to be more effective. Once you've had the encounter, now we can lead you deeper into different things that Jesus says because you've met him. And again, when you meet him, it's the difference between somebody who believes a lot of Christian things and somebody who follows Jesus. And we have a lot of people right now who believe a lot of Christian things, but they don't follow Jesus, and they don't follow him because they don't know him. And I think we're just going back to like basics right now, which that's the part that's exciting to me because I'm seeing the fruit of it over and over and over again.
You know, that's such a good point, because if you don't know Christ, all the teachings and all the preaching, whether it's once a week or every day, it's not going to make sense to you.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know, and it starts with, and I think that's what I found in my own faith that was lacking. You know, I was raised, like I said, grammar school, high school, college, and beyond, all Catholic education. But was I really probably catechized in learning to know Jesus, having a relationship with him? I didn't have that. I knew the questions and answers, and then as I got swept up by the culture, I disagreed with it and pushed it away. But then when I came back and first had that, like Father said, a relationship with Jesus Christ first, then everything, you put on a new pair of glasses then, because everything makes sense. It's in the lens of Jesus that you're looking at things and say, God loves me. I mean, that's such a profound thing to accept that in your life. Jesus truly loved me so much that he went to the cross for all my sins. And then you can hear the teachings, even if the world, like he said, with homosexuality and abortion and contraception is saying, oh, that's a big no from the church. But it makes sense in the eyes of having that relationship.
Well, I like what
with
he
Jesus.
said. That's chapter 96.
Yes.
But have you read the cover of the book?
The cover of the book.
Yeah, and the cover of the book is Jesus, and Jesus died for us. And when you know that someone loves you, you're more open to listening to what they have to say.
That's right.
I mean, unless you're a teenager, as you know, you're raised teenagers. Sometimes they get a little, they're a little crazy there.
Yeah.
But you know, eventually they do turn around.
But the priest, beyond just teaching what we're supposed to know and the beauty of the faith, of course, is modeling that relationship. So I'm very blessed at a parish where the best advice somebody gave me once is just go to this parish. And I drive 20 minutes away the opposite direction from going to work, but I go there and I feel really fed. And I see priests that are striving for personal holiness, but they also want us to be holy. So it isn't just like they have their own private kind of devotions and retreats. They also teach us what they're learning, which is so beautiful. You really feel like they are imparting a spiritual fatherhood to us and leading by example. I think that's the power of the vocation of the priest, is to teach us from what they already believe wholeheartedly and are living. That's the most powerful, I think, inspiration.
And I think, though, this whole topic that we're discussing, Feed My Sheep, and the reason we're doing 2 segments on this is to help people understand that while I know there is a frustration out there if they don't hear something from the pulpit, that feeding the sheep is much bigger than limiting it to 10 minutes of a homily on a Saturday or a Sunday.
That's right. I mean, it's our responsibility that, you know, once you know the truth, and like I said, I always like to go back to my reversion story, because I mean, I didn't have a Bible in my home. I didn't have any Catholic literature. I didn't have any pictures of the saints or statues or anything. But once I got that relationship with Jesus, I just wanted more. So I joined a Bible study. And now, of course, I pray daily using the Magnificat or the Office and prayers. And now there's no excuse. You can download those apps onto your iPhone, your iPad. You can have it with you. You don't have to have all these books that you're carting around. And so, you know, it's all about what are we doing? Instead of pointing the fingers so much at the priest and saying, Father, you're not doing A, B, and C. Well, first, put the mirror to yourself and say, what am I doing? You know, where's
Jesus
my part?
says, point to the, you know, before you point to the speck in your brother's eye, pull out the plank in your own eye.
In your own
right?
eye. And so we really have to look at where are we with our relationship with Jesus Christ first and foremost. And then what is your, you know, your spiritual life like? I mean, I always know too, I always struggle with the time, with the crazy schedule I'm on. I sometimes have to put the brakes on and say, oh, I have to do prayers this morning before the day gets underway and away from you. And sometimes, and one time a priest in confession gave me a really good idea. He said, Janet, did you ever just, before you get up in bed, open your eyes and just say, good morning, Jesus. That's so simple, but holy mackerel, that's easy. That's easy peasy. It doesn't take the prayer book around or anything. And I do that, and I say, good morning, Jesus, and I hope I have a good day today serving you. That takes how long? Seconds. And at least you've acknowledged thanking him for allowing you to wake up again. How many people go to bed and don't wake up? So yeah, we need to thank him. Yes, Jesus, thank you. I got to wake up. I have another day to serve you. And please give me the strength today. And Holy Spirit, please follow me that I keep my mouth good and everything works well. So, you know, sometimes we have to shine the light more on ourselves of where are we in this thing. And I know I constantly struggle with trying to put brakes on and find time to read the scriptures or do things because of we all live these crazy busy lives with, you know, we're here doing the series now, but then we go back and we speak around the country and we do this and we do that. We struggle just like everyone else. And I know from our viewer response, they all send us these little emails that say, oh, lady, how do you ladies do it? Well, we struggle too. You know, it's not simple. But it's establishing that relationship with Jesus Christ first and foremost in your life, then everything else falls into place, I think, a little bit better.
Yeah, and everybody is going to have their issues. It's never going to be perfect, and because we're pilgrims on a journey, and this
That's
isn't our
right.
home. But as you said, the balance and put things in perspective. But getting back to what Father John said, that he's also very excited, despite the persecution that is going on already for many in the church. And we've addressed that, I think, on earlier programs this season. It's an exciting time because people are turning to the church because it's getting more desperate out there, and they really are looking to the church, and they're realizing that the lives, slowly but surely, as we did, they're realizing that the lives that they were leading were not happy ones.
That's right.
And so they're looking for something else, and this is an opportunity for us to feed the sheep by reminding people of all the different great resources that are out there. I don't think there was ever a better time, and I know you were at the World Meeting of Families, and we talked about this in Philadelphia. I don't think there's ever a better time than right now in terms of to meet the challenges. As frightening as it is sometimes when we see how crazy the culture is, if walking around the World Meeting of Families in Philadelphia, didn't you get a sense that, wow, we're prepared? And these were individual apostolates, these were families, these were people from all over the world who just decided, you know what? I'm going to do something about a problem that I think exists, or I'm going to do something to help someone. I'm going to join a pro-life ministry. I'm going to start a Bible study. I'm going to start an apostolate, promoting adoption. Whatever it is, they are just walking up and saying, we need to help feed the sheep.
We want to serve. And you look at the surveys, how many Catholics or people who describe themselves as Catholics, baptized Catholics, still don't believe the Eucharist is the real presence. And I was one of them. So I think how many people would be their lives transformed if they realize what the Eucharist is, who it is, and that they can have this personal communion with Christ. That in fact they might have already done that through First Communion without realizing what they truly did. So it was beautiful to see at the World Meeting of Families, so many people there ready to serve. I was there recruiting and inviting people to join the pro-life movement amongst the Hispanics. And I saw a hunger and I saw this zeal to want to bring the truth, because they shared with me stories about how they know somebody who's struggling with same-sex attraction or contraception or has had abortions. And they're sharing this and they want to be part of the answer. And they know where the answer lies, where the happiness lies, in the truth of the Catholic Church and the real presence of Christ in the Eucharist. We can be a part of the solution. And there was a lot of positivity. I really loved being a part of that event.
I just like just walking around and looking at all the different apostolates. I was absolutely amazed. I really was. And I actually collected a lot of cards, and I'm doing a lot of interviews on my radio show, because these people are just working so hard to make a difference. And we have to work together.
That's right.
I mean, this is what Vatican II was supposed to be all about, the laity getting more involved.
That's right.
Instead
of sitting on the sidelines and complaining, you have to get on the field and play the game and get involved. I mean, that's what it's really about.
Yeah.
Beyond the church, outside of the boundaries and the outskirts. That's what we're called to do in our workplace. The places where a priest might not be able to go, but we can go. Social media now too. I mean, there's so many ways to do it.
Yeah, I think we're finally starting to get what we were supposed to do with Vatican II. I mean, after a Vatican Council, maybe it was Father Frank Pavone or another priest who told me that usually takes about 50 years for things to kind of fall into place and have an impact. And I think we're seeing that now. I think the World Meeting of Families was a really good example to that. Yeah. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll wrap up this part 2 of Feed My Sheep with Father John Mercado, who happens to be pastor of Our Lady of Good Counsel Parish in Plymouth, Michigan. That's in southeast Detroit, the Detroit area, in the Archdiocese of Detroit. We'll also tell you about some links and where you can find his radio podcasts and programs, and we'll also have some other ideas on how you can help your pastor, your deacon, your parish, your diocese, your archdiocese feed the sheep, because we are all called to evangelize by virtue of our baptism. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Catholic View for Women. I'm Teresa Tomeo, along with Astrid Bennett Gutierrez and Janet Morana, and a big shout out to our pastoral director who works with us so closely behind the scenes, Father Frank Pavone. We're talking about Feed My Sheep. This is the second episode, and we're discussing ways to support our priests, our deacons, our bishops, in helping them feed the sheep, because we all have to take responsibility for this. Let's get back to our interview with Father John Mercado, who's a very well-known priest from the Archdiocese of Detroit and a radio personality with EWTN and Ave Maria Radio.
The church has never had more. The church has always had the fullness of the faith, the fullness of the deposit of faith, fullness of truth, however you want to call it. We've always had all of this. What we haven't always had is it packaged. But now it's packaged really well. It's packaged in a 4-week program, an 8-week program, a 12-week program. You know, a priest does it, a laywoman does it, a religious sister does it, you know, a scripture scholar does it. I think the beauty of, and you know this so well, I mean, here's the beauty of media being exploited for the good. The internet, radio, TV, whatever it is, I mean, we have so many opportunities to deliver the Word of God now. And people are responding like crazy when they get a chance to see it. I think that's a very encouraging sign about what's happening right now.
Yeah, I think that's so true. It goes to what you were saying before the break, Astrid.
That's right.
About all the different ministries that are out there. Catholic radio, the growth of Catholic radio. We started at EWTN with, I think, maybe 5 or 6 radio stations, and this was almost 20 years ago. Now we have over 300 in the United States and 500 around the world.
Right.
And that's not including the shortwave radio, that's not including, you know, satellite. So it's huge in terms of the outreach.
You know what it means to us Catholics to have something come up in the news, like Supreme Court decides on so-called same-sex marriage, and to want to grapple, how do I speak about this on social media, and to be able to turn on an app very easily and listen to you, EWTN, and somebody's talking about it. Somebody's interviewing an expert. Somebody's interviewing a priest who's faithful to the church. It is such a gift. The times we're living in right now, yes, they're very difficult. Yes, we feel persecuted. Our priests don't always talk about these issues, but we cannot complain. We're so blessed as a church of all the apostolates that exist and how easy it is to get faithful information so that we can share it with the rest of our, you know,
Right.
friends.
Yeah, I mean, we're now in the world of the internet for a long time now, but now parishes have their own websites. I mean, how many people viewing right now have ever checked your parish website and your diocesan website? See, the problem I think we have here is there's wealth of information out there, but how many people don't even tap into it?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true. That's a good point.
I go to, you know, parish website all the time just to see, because I travel so much. I'm in different parishes on the weekend, so I don't get my bulletin because I'm in California or I'm in Chicago and here and there. Well, I go on the website so I can keep the pulse on what's going on at home at my parish. But how many people every Sunday in and out, don't even take the bulletin? If they take the bulletin, do they really read it? And please,
Or they're reading it during Mass.
During Mass, which makes me crazy. I want to say, can you hide the bulletins till after Mass and then put them out as they go out? It makes me insane that there they are sitting there reading the bulletin. But we have a responsibility. You know, and I say, you know, did you check out your parish website, your diocesan website, and the USCCB has web pages, and then the Vatican, it's huge. Every dicastery, first of all, there's the main website, and then every dicastery from the Council to the Family and all those pontifical councils have their own websites and web pages. When do we even go and look at that? And the Pope.
And if
the
you
Pope
think
has his
about
own
how much
Pope app.
time people spend on the internet and how much time they
Exactly.
spend with media, children spend about 58 hours with the media per week.
That's right.
Per week. And there's a study that came out from Baylor University last year that said that college students are addicted to their cell phones, and unfortunately they're not, you know, browsing the really good websites. They're spending most of the time on Facebook and texting and whatnot, right? And yet they don't bother, as you said, to visit these websites, and they don't even know about it. So they're using all this media, so they're media savvy,
But they're not using it for good.
or they haven't heard about it.
Right.
And one thing that would be really great to do is to, you know, talk to your parish priest or the person who does your bulletin to put some of these resources, such as EWTN.com, EWTN, you know, news.com, or the Catholic News Agency, or the National Catholic Register website, ncregister.com. Give a list of the good Catholic media that are out there, and some of the Bible studies as well. In each book that I write, I always do a resource chapter at the end, because I want people to be able to go and follow up. You mentioned Bible study. There's a great program called Endow, which is Educating on the Nature and Dignity of Women, which is a women's study group that has grown just hugely in the last few years. So what Father John was talking about is that we have all kinds of really good packages.
Tools, yeah.
Tools to use. And there's the Beloved series, there's Alpha for Catholics, there's Christ Life. There's all these different Bible studies, Gail Buckley with Catholic Scripture Study International, and on and on and on. And just as we were saying before the break, all these ministries that were at the World Meeting of Families, phenomenal. But how many people in the pews know about them?
That's right. And part of the responsibility is on the person themselves, that they're not. I mean, people, like we're saying, they go on and they Google to find restaurants. You could put like restaurants in Birmingham, Alabama, and I'll get a whole list. Well, how many people do that about apostolates? We have to start Googling good Catholic
Bible studies, Catholic radio,
resources.
right? Catholic newspapers, right?
And then you could go at the EWTN Religious Catalog, and a lot of these Bible studies we're talking about and resources are available right at the EWTN Religious Catalog.
Right.
When you go to do your online shopping, instead of maybe jumping over to Amazon, did you ever go to the Religious Catalog first? See what they have there. Shop among other Catholic resources, and you're going to see there's a wealth of things out there, and we're just not tapping into them.
And be a service to your pastor. Like, for example, if your parish doesn't have natural family planning classes, well, find out where they can learn. And now there's online classes, and say, Father, for the married couples, for the engaged couples, here's a wonderful place where they can get trained. And we don't have it here in our parish yet, but here's a great place. What a service for you to do that legwork, and find the wonderful, faithful resource and let them publish it, put an announcement. It's our way of contributing and helping
Write an
and
article.
evangelizing.
Right,
Exactly.
an article, right?
A testimony.
Yeah. Offer to write a blog or to write an
Mm-hmm.
informational blog about the Catholic things going on in the community and to help out.
That's right. We really have to look, like I said, inward instead of pointing fingers outward. And so often we just like to sit back and criticize. I know that's especially true. Astrid and I get this a lot with the pro-life movement. People like to sit back and say, well, how come this one's doing this? And how come, well, what are you doing? What are you doing? And so I think this is a really challenge to our viewers. Okay, this is our last episode within this series. And if you've missed any of our episodes, well, guess what? TheCatholicViewForWomen.com. We have all the resources for all the other shows on our website. And then what about the whole series? Well, you can purchase the entire series at the EWTN Religious Catalog, because the purpose of our show is to really help people like us study and learn more.
And you can just have a great discussion on the topics that we're talking about, even by visiting a couple of the websites and looking at the materials on there.
I mean, when I give out that homework,
or the documents,
right. The challenge really is when we give out the homework, how many people actually go to it, do it, and even check one of the several items we give on every show. Do they really go and check it out? It's a real challenge, but you have to stop folding the arms and complaining and say, you know what? It's my fault I don't know. I mean, I realized that when I came back to the church that, Janet, it was your fault. Partially too.
Well,
because you stayed ignorant with
some
your ears
leaders in the
closed.
church are also responsible for poor teaching. They have to take some of the responsibility. But in the end, God willing, when we get to the pearly gates, St. Peter isn't going to say, and Jesus is going to say to us, well, boy, Father so-and-so or Bishop so-and-so didn't do a very good job. He's going to say, what did you do?
What did you do?
Yeah, exactly.
What did you do?
Right.
It all comes back to us. It's our responsibility.
Well, we have about 3 minutes left, so let's revisit a couple of the websites. And then also in this last episode, we want to make sure that we remind folks of this beautiful gift.
This is the Kitchen Madonna, and we picked it as a patroness for our program, I think because of the fact that women, so many of us, are in the kitchen a lot, preparing meals for our family or for ourselves, or I like to bake, etc. It's such a holy, beautiful reminder, as Mother Angelica always said, to have them around the house, but this looks so appropriately in the kitchen. And of course, the symbols here, the broom here, of course, we have to keep our home clean, but it's also cleanliness of our thoughts and our actions and what's in our mind. The keys here keep your house safe. You'll keep it locked up, but it's also that Mary is going to show us the way to the keys to the kingdom, open it up for us. And the kettle is that we want to nourish ourselves both in body but also in mind and spirit. And it's a beautiful bronze statue and available at the EWTN Religious Catalog. And we all have one in our homes. So
if I could talk about the resources here, because they're directly related to radio and also Ave Maria Radio.
This is the homework now. So the first one, Teresa, you take it.
The first one is olgcparish.net, which is a parish of Father John Ricardo. And he, in addition to doing the radio show that airs on EWTN and Ave Maria Radio, he also has great resources, podcasts, and I believe he records his homilies. So you can check out his website at Our Lady of Good Counsel Parish in Detroit, olgcparish.net. And of course, AveMariaRadio.net. You can actually order CDs of his talks, and also you can find out more information about his show, Christ is the Answer. Astrid, why don't you take the next one?
Absolutely. So number 2, highly recommended. Give a word of encouragement to your priest regarding something he preached about or did that was very encouraging to you or others in the parish. Let's get away from the culture of complaining. Let's do more encouraging.
Well, then finally, number 3, of course, is pages that are actually developed by Father Frank Pavone, our National Director at Priests for Life. Go to priestsforlife.org/clergy. Now there, first of all, the priests and deacons can sign up for our clergy email, which Father Pavone writes homily hints, bulletin inserts, prayers of the faithful for the readings for 3 weeks ahead, because we know, Teresa, you would say as a deacon's wife, they have to prepare ahead of time.
Exactly.
And so that's there for them. But in addition, we have audios of sample homilies of Father Pavone and some of our other priests, and everything is divided up into the A, B, and C cycle for the readings every Sunday. And so it's a great resource, and also I want to remind our viewers, we want to hear from them.
Okay, thanks, Janet. And again, that's priestsforlife.org/clergy. All these resources are on our website at thecatholicviewforwomen.com. We're so glad you enjoyed our programming this season, and we hope to see you next time on The Catholic View. For Janet Morana, Astrid Bennett Gutierrez, and our Pastoral Director, Father Frank Pavone, I'm Teresa Tomeo. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time on The Catholic View for Women. God bless you.